Barbie, as we have long gestated about, has been in active development for quite a while. Mattel has been trying to make this movie for the better part of 14 or 15 years now. It went through a couple of different sea changes from studios and rights acquisitions, as I said earlier at the top of the episode. At one point, Amy Schumer was going to be Barbie, Anne Hathaway was going to be Barbie, but finally Margot Robbie, coming on as a producer, decided to take on this project and approach Warner Brothers about it, and they decided to distribute the film. And so Margot Robbie is not only the star, but she is an active producer and is primarily the reason that Greta Gerwig got brought on to begin with to make this movie. And so it became this really, really strategic and I would say strong partnership between an Academy Award nominated actress and an Academy Award winning director who's coming in to bring all sorts of pedigree and quality to the film that we would hope to see. But we got a chance to check this movie out. This was the first one that we saw out of the Barbenheimer weekend. So with all of that out the way, man, I will pass it over to you. What did you think about Barbie?
What a interesting and rewarding achievement from Barbie and company, from Greta Gerwig, from everybody involved in this film, man. This movie here is something I think even beyond the marketing, the movie itself is something I think people are going to talk about for a very, very long time in the things that it was able to accomplish. Barbie, man, Barbie. This is a movie where I knew it was going to be funny. I knew it was going to have some of that, I guess, coming of age story to it. I knew it was going to have some of some feminist talk about it. We knew it was going to be bright and beautiful. And Greta Gerwig and Margot Robbie entering a Barbie film is already insane because it doesn't even sound like that goes together, to be honest, because these are two very artsy people. It doesn't sound like they're sitting down to do a Barbie movie. Everything that I thought this movie would be is not only that, but to be honest, it's way more and it's way different. And it is very surprising, I think, in all those ways in which I thought this movie was going to be. It definitely subverted my expectations in so many ways, man. The comedy, I haven't laughed like this in a very long time in the theater, man. It was so refreshing, I think, to be able, I think, to just sit down and laugh. And this movie isn't a movie that you go watch and you forget about what the story was about after you're done laughing. This is a film that there's wordplay, the dialogue in the delivery, it's dry, but it's funny for those reasons. But not only that, it has so many goddamn messages in it. And they're conveyed so well and thoughtful in the world of Barbie. It is the craziest thing to me. Like, I didn't even know this movie, to be honest, was possible, that it could be made. Because I think we've seen examples of this movie in different properties that do have the satirical film to them, the comedy to them, the slapstick comedy at that. We have seen films like this, but none that feel like the way it talks about itself, the way it's so I guess self-aware of itself and is able to make fun of itself while also enhancing it. I've just never seen it, I think, done to this degree before. And there's just so much care in this film that I really enjoy. Margot Robbie killed it. We knew she was going to kill it, and I have to say I am so happy it wasn't Amy Schumer. Oh my god, I'm so happy it wasn't Amy Schumer. Oh my God, I am through the roof that it was not Amy Schumer. I probably would not have liked this movie as much if it was not, or if it was Amy Schumer. I'm so happy it was Margot Robbie. I've talked about Margot Robbie a lot on this podcast recently, but she is such an artsy actress, and she never gets a chance to be in like these doing well in the box office kind of blockbuster films. And I feel like she won twice with Barbie. I feel like she was able to be the artsy actress that she is while maintaining a role in a big IP that is Barbie, that is also successful in the box office. Margot Robbie fucking won today. I think she did it. Margot Robbie did it, and I love that for her so much, man. I'm so proud of her after watching this film. I was like, yes, she finally got one, so I love it. Ryan Gosling. Oh my God. I did not see this coming, by the way. When the marketing we already knew the marketing for Barbie is fire, but this is different. The marketing for Barbie does not tell you how much Ryan Gosling is going to be involved in this film. We know he's Ken. We know there's other people in the film. We know there's other Kens, there's other Barbies. This film does not tell you Ryan Gosling is going to be that important in this film, and he is. He is so important, and for all the he has some of the best moments I think I've ever seen him in as an actor in his career. This is Ryan Gosling. He also has a pretty fucking really good track record between La La Lands and Drives, and the dude, he also usually knows how to pick a project. Ryan Gosling does a really good job. He is killing in this movie, man. He is crazy funny. He's using some of those Mickey Mouse Clubhouse moments and singing and dancing and just being the star that we know Ryan Gosling could be. But again, I did not see the big role that they gave him in this film. I did not see it coming, but it was a very refreshing surprise. One other actor I'll kind of talk about. Well, I'll talk about two. One, Issa Rae being Black President Barbie, 10 out of 10. Yes, I'm just happy she existed in this movie in general. But I also want to bring up Will Ferrell, who I did not see coming in this film as much as I did. To be honest, he's probably like my small nitpick with the film is Will Ferrell. There's something about the way he fits into this film that just doesn't always work. There's moments he does pop up, and he did get a laugh out of me, but the comedy that he brought to the forefront just wasn't as I don't know, maybe well delivered as some of the other comedy that I enjoyed in the film. So he definitely has like one of the smaller nitpicks with this film was definitely some of the stuff that Will Ferrell was in, but he wasn't absent from still being good. There's still moments that he had that I enjoyed. Last thing I do really want to talk about, not last thing, but something else I do really want to talk about this film real quick is I haven't seen a movie like this that talks about feminism, I think, in this way, right? Where by the end of it, it makes you feel optimistic. Does that make sense? There's a lot of films that have been talking about the patriarchy, feminism, masculinity, toxic masculinity to be specific, all these other things, but they make you feel like, one, that like you should just go outside and be an activist after that, or you should be a co-conspirator or an ally of feminism for that reason, or they make you be like, damn, the world is in a terrible state. Why is it like this? Barbie did something really good where they give you all of this nitty gritty about feminism and then go, okay, but there's a bright side. There is a way forward. There is something that we can do about this. And I haven't gotten a sense of movies that have done that. They're like, damn, we can't do something about it. There is a way that we can move forward. And I was like, I haven't felt that a lot here recently. So I think it did a really good job with that. Outside of that, music is fire. Dance numbers is fire. It looks amazing. They did their damn thing on Barbie. And I don't know how much more I can say that. They did their damn thing. I was not expecting to like it as much as I did. I think it's a really well crafted film. But yeah, good job to all parties involved. I'm really proud of the way Barbie turned out.
So Barbie could have easily just been another standard movie about another standard IP that took very little risks, that stuck to the surface level translation of what a live action adaptation could be. I think we've seen it countless times. And for all those motherfuckers on social media that had something to say about what I said about the Super Mario Brothers movie, I'm sorry, I'm going to repeat it. That was a very surface level take on an IP that we have a long relationship with. It was just a copy and paste of the video game. But that is not Barbie, and we should have known this whole time that Barbie was not going to be that way, and it was not going to be this superficial take on an IP that's been around for more than 6 decades. And we should have known from the very moment a year ago that we saw that teaser trailer that pays homage and references Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey. When you first see that, that automatically should signal to you this isn't going to be quite like anything you've ever experienced, and it's not going to be what you think it is. We are setting out to do something different. And Greta Gerwig comes in and says, you know what? No, we're not going to do the standard thing. We're going to come in, we're going to challenge and praise also all the things that make Barbie the recognizable brand that it has become for such a long time, while also still putting a microscope on the ways in which the Barbie IP and the Barbie character has been maligned in pop culture for a long time as well, and not being afraid to do that. And I said this in our immediate reaction out of the theater, but I am absolutely shocked that Mattel looked at that script and acquiesced it and agreed to make this movie. And I watched another interview between Margot Robbie and Greta Gerwig, and they said something that's really, really brilliant. This script and this movie doesn't contain just 3 really challenging things that would make Mattel look at it and say, like, oh my God, we cannot ever shudder to think to do those 3 things. Literally, the entire script is full of things that a brand probably shouldn't do, and they probably shouldn't let a filmmaker get away with. And so when you have 100 small battles, then you really can, as a brand, sit back and say, like, well, you know, we're either going to make this movie or we're not going to make this movie, and we cannot fight every single battle. We have to just take the inches and just try to progress and move along as we can. Of course, there's going to be some contention. There's some push and pull. I'm sure that there were a lot of conversations about how to pull back or how to give and take on certain scenarios within the film and certain scenes. But when the whole entire script and the DNA is laced with all of this messaging and all of these ideas and all of these challenging notions about what Barbie represents, then you're either going to make the movie or you're not. You're either going to go all the way with it or you're not. There's really no half-stepping with this shit when this script is so clever and it's so smart and it's so challenging to just everything that we've come to associate with the character. And so now you get this really surrealist, fourth wall breaking, fantasy, candy-colored comedy that's also an examination of Barbie's projections of feminist ideals, but those same projections that have also undermined the complexity of women and what they mean and how that represents women for multiple generations, because Barbie has been held up as this impossible standard to meet. There's these impossible beauty standards. There's the materialistic aspect, whether it's the cars or the clothes or the beaches or all of that stuff. And this movie is saying, like, yes, that exists. That is an avid part of the lineage and the lore and the mythology of Barbie that's been built up for 60 plus years. But at the same time, we're going to challenge that stuff. And then we're going to give you the messaging that's proper, because it's not only going to be messaging related to Barbie as a brand, but it's going to be blown up to women as a whole. It's going to be more feminist in nature. It's going to look at just the complexity of what women have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, year in and year out, day in and day out. And so now this movie becomes all appealing to everybody, because it's not just about a toy. It's not just about fashion. It's not just about discontinued Barbies that got tucked away because they were problematic or Mattel didn't want to fucking sell them. It becomes about the challenges that women face and the ideas you pointed out earlier that we can still do something about it and move on from it. And we can acknowledge the stuff and be very smart and aware of it all. And we don't have to act the way that we do towards women. We don't have to have these perceptions. We don't have to have these impossible expectations. Like, let's actively address this shit, and we can still do so in a comedic way and in an entertaining way and in an emotional way. We can do all of it at the same time. And the fact that you have Greta Gerwig and Margot Robbie coming in here to deconstruct this mythical status of this IP and saying, yes, she has a place in pop culture and she's been important for many generations, but she's also isolated a lot of women as well. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to put that in the movie. I mean, round of a fucking applause. They did it. It's incredible. And then you add in just the knowledge that Greta has as a filmmaker and her writing ability. And it's also a credit to her that her and her husband, Noah Baumbach, put this together, because him coming in, he's also very accomplished and celebrated filmmaker in his own right. They come together to put the script, you know, in the place that it needed to be. And they're pulling all sorts of influences and style. I mean, you can see all of her cinematic influences in this movie. You can see The Wizard of Oz. You can see Pee-wee's Big Adventure and the Tim Burton influence. You can see The Truman Show and The Matrix. Like, all of that stuff is feeding into the look and the feel and the world that they create with Barbie Land. But then on a story level, I mean, the mixture of ingredients here, it's really unlike anything else on this level. I mean, we would typically see this type of movie on an independent level, maybe. You know, you'd see a smaller art house indie movie, which Greta comes from. She's done that, right? But now she's coming she's coming to work for a big studio to say, like, yeah, give me $150 million and I'm going to make a feminist piece about Barbie and her place in pop culture and society. And we're going to both praise her and fucking tear her down at the same time. And it's all going to make sense. And that's just a feat in and of itself. And I'm just incredibly wowed that they were able to accomplish it. Conversely, I will say that there were a couple of cons with this movie for me. One being, there is a section of the movie, and you kind of alluded to this, there's a section of the movie where I thought that they might have lost me. It happens towards the end of the first act. I won't spoil it, but essentially we leave Barbie Land. And for a while, I was sitting there like, what are we doing? I think we might be losing the movie here. The stuff wasn't just working for me, and Will Ferrell's character is introduced at that point. And I just started to think like, oh, I think this might have gotten away from us. I don't know where we're going. Thankfully, though, they are able to snap it back quickly, and it still has resonance because that moment is super important for what happens later in the movie. And so within the context of the story, it all works. But at that particular moment, the comedy wasn't hitting as much as I wanted it to. Some of the on-the-nose references about patriarchy and feminism, I'm like, this isn't really working for me, but it feeds into the story as it progresses and develops. And then secondly is the Will Ferrell character. There is something about him that doesn't quite fit with all the other characters in the movie. It feels somewhat like he's in a bit of a different movie. Like it's somewhat what they're trying to do, but it's also kind of something else entirely. And so I'm just kind of thankful that by the third act, he's not as much of an important presence as he was initially made out to be. We kind of fade him into the background a little bit, and I think that was a good decision. I think reverting the focus and the intention on the characters that we met at the top of the movie by the end of the movie is the appropriate place to go. And we also got more time and more opportunities to spend with other characters that played even more significance to the story at hand. But outside of that, this is such a phenomenal time at the movies. You're going to have an explosively good time. You're going to laugh. You're probably going to cry. There's legitimate emotion here. And as you said, Ryan Gosling, he really does steal the movie because he's doing so much stuff. He's doing such hard work here. And it really can't be underestimated how hard he has to work in this particular role between the singing and the dancing, but just the acting and how just plainly he has to play it because he has to be serious. Like, even though it's funny, he has to be really, really serious a lot, and you have to believe it. But I can't overlook Margot Robbie and what she has to do here as well. Like,
exactly,
she is an absolutely incredible actress. I mean, really a generational talent who is making so many interesting choices and doing so many different things. And even in this movie, when there are times where you might see another character come in and steal a sequence or steal a scene, you never lose focus of her. And she just has to carry so much emotional, heavy baggage and so many of the ideals and just the expectations on what you would look for in this film. And she does a absolutely phenomenal job at that. And so kudos to her and kudos to the rest of the cast who all shows up and does exactly what they needed to do. So this was overall just such a phenomenal time and just such a great experience. I can't see really any reason that people wouldn't have a good time watching this, even if you're not a fan of Barbie, even though you know you're not the target demographic. There is something all throughout this script that I think can speak to you. And I think that that's just, sort of the brilliance and the genius of the movie. I do want to talk about potential Oscar chances as it relates to this movie because Greta Gerwig is an Academy Award winning actress director. And they love her. She's obviously a big part of the Academy and has been there before between her work on Lady Bird and Little Women. This doesn't on the surface feel like a movie that would be Oscar nominated or get that type of attention. But when you go to see it, and I think when you see possibly how shocked you might be at just the emotional resonance and the performances and the story, it now all of a sudden seems like it might be a potential front runner when we come to, Academy voting and the nominations. And, who knows what the state of the Academy will be with just the whole strike. But let's just hypothetically say everything is going to proceed forward and we're going to get the award show in next spring. I mean, what do you anticipate? Do you think this can be up for Best Picture or Director or maybe even some acting performances or writing? Like, what do you think ultimately the landscape will shake out to be for Barbie when the Academy Awards rolls around?
Oh man, I think to put it quite plainly, the Academy goes, did Greta Gerwig make a movie this year? And then they go, yeah, she did. And then they go, up, there goes an Oscar nomination for Best Picture. No, I absolutely think this will be in the running for Best Picture. To be honest, the only thing that's weird going against it is the Academy, low key, sometimes does not be fucking with comedy. A lot of times they do. A lot of times they do, right? But a lot of times they don't either. And so I think that's the only thing that's like, this property may be a little too woke for us or have a little bit too much going on for us to nominate it. But I think overall, some of the changes we've been seeing in the Academy and a lot of the movies they've been putting in the forefront, like Triangle of Sadness, you know what I mean? Movies like that. I definitely think there's no reason and there's no doubt that this movie is absolutely going to be up for Best Picture. I just can't see it. I really can't. I really can't see it. Everything that goes into the film too, this isn't absent of the artsiness either that the Academy likes to harp on. It really, to me, is all there. So I think from a Best Picture standpoint, I definitely think it's going to get some kind of nomination. Technical, absolutely. Hair and makeup is duh. Like, you had to make everybody look like dolls first and foremost. Production design, you had to make Barbie Land that is it's one of the most underrated things in the movie to me is the set design. The production design is nuts. The things that they have to do to build Barbie Land is crazy. It's something like I never felt like watching the movie like I was out of, unless we literally was outside of Barbie Land, like I was somewhere else, but in a land full of a bunch of Barbies and Kens. I literally felt like I was there. Everything looks ridiculous. There's water that doesn't move. There's the props look really good, like little Barbie milks and hills and kitchens. It all looks absolutely phenomenal. In the color grading, oh my god, it all pops, and I think it's doing what it needs to do there. Acting, I feel like Margot Robbie, first of all, yes. I think the girl, she's just doing it. She has been doing it. You know what I'm saying? This isn't like a breakout surprise on Margot Robbie. This is like, no, this is like a stamp to me. This is like, I have been here doing this shit. I was in Babylon last year. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we doing here? I'm Margot Robbie. And so I absolutely think it's her time. Even if you don't call it a makeup call, I don't care. The girl needs to be on the goddamn ballot somewhere for this film. She does so good in this movie, and everything we just talked about with Ryan Gosling, bro. I think he has to get best supporting somewhere. I really do. He's doing so much, and as you said, he has to be serious in this role, but he's also playing like a weird in between where he is playing a Ken doll in a Barbie movie. You know what I'm saying? It's like, how, I don't know. It's just really good acting. That's the only thing I can chalk it up to, is like being able to study and understand the kind of movie that you're in and the kind of role that you're having to play. He did it. He just did it. And so I think those two for sure. I think all of those categories, man, are to me, at this point in time, we're halfway through the year, to me, they're shoes in for all of the things I just said, for sure.
I think all the below the line stuff is a given. I think everything you said, production, costumes, hair and makeup, like the below the line shit, they should get it. They should get nominations for sure. I'm not saying that they should win necessarily, but they have a great chance of getting nominated, because that stuff is just brought to life in such a believable way and tangible, and the practicality of it, the fact that they built these sets and used all that stuff. I watched a video that Architectural Digest did, and Margot Robbie gave a tour of Barbie Land, and it's like, this is a real place. You can go to Barbie Land, and it's just like incredible that they brought this to life. And from a director standpoint and a best picture standpoint, I'd love to see it there as well. I think that you want to have blockbusters at the Academy be represented. You know, we know that they're going to lean heavily towards the independent movies and the art house movies and the really serious dramas. Like, yes, that we know, we get that. But I think you need a couple of blockbusters in there to mix it up. You need those popular movies that most people see to be like, you know what? Yeah, this is celebrating film entirely. And this is a film that was exceptional when you talk about the popular tentpole stuff that came out. I think that in the examples of all the stuff that we've seen out of the summer, this shoots right up at the top of the list. And so I'd love for it to get as much acknowledgement as possible and be as nominated as it can in as many categories as it possibly can. I do want to just like quickly talk about Margot Robbie. Not as much of an actor, because we just, sort of highlighted her there, but really her as like a Hollywood mogul, because she is also a producer of this movie and is largely responsible for bringing it to life. And she's been doing this for a while. She's one of the founders of Lucky Chap Entertainment, which is a production company that she leads along with her husband and a few other partners that primarily focuses on female-focused films and television productions. And she's been doing it for, again, some years now. It really launched with I, Tonya, which she was nominated for Academy Award Best Actress, an incredible movie. But she's produced other things like Promising Young Woman. She did Birds of Prey, of course, her own film that she starred in with DC. And they've just transitioned into television as well, doing Dollface on Hulu. So, what are your thoughts about her just being like this really prominent force in terms of female storytellers and movie makers in the industry, and the fact that she's now had a successful run, and they've had wins, but now like Barbie is their definitive blockbuster win, which sometimes you kind of need that big movie to really send you over the top. Like, they're going to take on the really important projects, the movies that have something to say, like A Promising Young Woman, or the biopic like I, Tonya, which is really the star-driven vehicle. But now the big IP is their chance to really announce themselves as a major player in Hollywood. What do you think about just what she's been able to do with her production company all these years?
Man, I love it. I love how she stayed. I think what I really like about the production company, she's always stayed true to, I think, to herself and the stories that she wants to do. I, Tonya is a very specific kind of movie. You know what I'm saying? As is Promising Young Woman, as is Birds of Prey, as is, the movies that they come out with are very intentional. And I think, like you said, Barbie is a good stamp and they're making noise with Barbie, and now it's I love when I think an actor or actress can start making these companies and say, okay, I love this more than on one level, and not only that, but there's a pipeline that needs to be fixed. That's what I feel like Margot Robbie is doing with Lucky Chap Entertainment, because all those movies I said are very much feminist forefront films. They're very much these are women. These are stories told for and by women, and I think Barbie is only going to elevate that even more. Maybe now, before all those movies are small. You know what I'm saying? In terms of Birds of Prey, maybe be like the biggest movie, but those other movies are small. They're not, the biggest budgeted. They didn't technically even make that much money. But now, people are gonna be probably slinging her some scripts and some, you know what I'm saying, like all kind of stuff, to say, please make my movie. I have an idea for your production company, and things are gonna get pitched. So I love that it's not just about. I love doing this outside of acting in Margot Robbie's case, but now I'm trying to change something different in the pipeline. Now, again, to me, after watching Barbie, I know what I'm going to get when it comes to Lucky Chap Entertainment. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know the next movie is going to give me some type of feel that has to do with that feminism pizzazz. I think is what I'm gonna call it. And so I think it's great that she's doing it, man. I think a lot of the actors and actresses that do it, if done for the right reason, we usually find out that a couple of these movies turn out doing really well for them. And so I think will be of no exception.
It's great opportunity. At the end of the day, you need those champions and those advocates who are going to say, like, this is really the mission and the driving force behind why we make anything, and for them to take the idea and the notion that we're going to make female-driven movies and television productions and give these opportunities to women is really important. And that needs to happen, especially considering, as we just talked about the Academy, we know largely every single year the Academy has a huge issue with nominating and acknowledging women. I mean, just this past year, we're like, no female directors are nominated for anything. And it's like, we know and can identify movies that had female directors that were exceptional or really good or whatever the case may be. Like, we need these opportunities to really bubble up and have those people that are going to champion for it so that we can get them through that pipeline and get them acknowledged. Now, Greta, she has really already sort of established herself. She didn't necessarily need Margot Robbie, but it doesn't hurt that Margot Robbie said, like, I want to work with Greta Gerwig. That's who I want to be my director for this movie. Now Greta is going to go from being the small indie art house director to being literally a blockbuster filmmaker, which we need females to be blockbuster filmmakers. I'm not saying that her abandoning, being an art house filmmaker is a bad thing, because you need those people that can make crossover hits. Like, we don't have enough women that can be helming big blockbusters. She's now having the biggest movie ever for a female director in terms of a debut. That's incredible. Like, we need more of that type of stuff to happen. And so if those are her ambitions, which it seems like it will be, because she's going to make apparently Chronicle of Narnia movies coming up next year. If she wants to be a huge director, that's incredible. Like, let her have that ambition to go to that next level. And it would not have happened without the work of Margot Robbie and her production company and really advocating for her to come on to make this Barbie movie. And so I find it to be a multi-pronged approach that can service all sorts of stories and all types of filmmakers and their ambitions. The last thing I want to touch on before we do move on from Barbie is Mattel, because they are a big player in all of this. Now, they got plans. They got big plans. This is not just going to stop short of Barbie. They are licensing out a lot of their toys, a lot of their characters to studios and streamers all across Hollywood. Currently, they are finding ways to really leverage their IP and really turn these things into cinematic universes or cinematic universe adjacent things. And, the company CEO, he told them that he told, GQ recently that he wants to, or excuse me, not GQ, but Time Magazine. He told them recently that he wants to transition all of these franchises from being just toy-based products to becoming an IP company that manages multiple franchises in multiple realms of media. So that goes into television and movie productions. Like, they want Mattel to really blow up and cross over in a bigger and bolder way, besides just being a toy company. So currently they have 13 films publicly announced. One of them includes a Barney movie, which we know is going to come. That's going to be produced and starring Daniel Kaluuya, Oscar winner Daniel Kaluuya. He's going to be in this Barney movie that's going to be made by A24. We don't necessarily know exactly what that's going to look like, but apparently, if we're to go off of what he's saying, it's not going to be the Barney movie that you think. It's not going to be just your traditional Saturday morning Barney that you grew up with. subverting a lot of expectations, I think, much like what Barbie just did recently. But they
Mhm.
also have other stuff in development. They're making a major Matt Mason movie starring Tom Hanks. They were recently just developing a He-Man and Masters of the Universe movie over at Netflix, but that just got canceled at Netflix. So I think they're going to shop it around to other studios across Hollywood. But overall, they have 45 films in development, 45
What?
movies. A lot of these have not necessarily been publicly announced in terms of what they are, but they did confirm this to the New Yorker, which ran a full story on Mattel's future plans. I would encourage people to read that if you are interested. What do you think about this? I asked you out of our immediate reaction about this sea change that it feels like we're experiencing in Hollywood. For a long time, superhero movies, especially from Marvel, the most reliable blockbusters we were getting. You can just watch them come out and expect them to hit a billion. But now this year, we're seeing things just be and feel different. You know, you get the Super Mario Brothers movie becoming the biggest video game movie of all time, makes something like 1.3 billion. Barbie is doing incredible business. Even on the television front, The Last of Us becoming one of the most critically acclaimed television series of the
Yeah.
year. Now we are transitioning into toys and really leveraging those IP and turning them into multi-pronged and multi-approached franchises that could have long runways and multiple mediums. I mean, what do you think about all of this and what this might signal? Do you think that we could experience possibly a shift in terms of what the dominant franchise model is in Hollywood? Will we veer away from superhero movies and lean more into toys and video games? Or do you think that this, again, might just be kind of a cautionary tale that Hollywood is just looking to replicate the success of Barbie and it's probably going to come up short?
Definitely looking to replicate the success of Barbie. And I think there are instances that it could work, and there are instances where it could not work, depending on the kind of property that Mattel and whoever else wants to touch. Right there is something, as weird as it sounds, there is something there to me about Barney. Barney is that's a big IP. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's very well known. They've been talking about this movie for a while too, before Barbie. You know what I'm saying? You can't say like, oh, Barbie came out, time to make a Barney movie. We know that's not true, which again gets me to think there's something there for Barney. Like, they have the story, they know where they want to go and what they want to do with that film. I remember them talking about it might be a little horror-ish or scary or something. I don't know. It's the weirdest thing ever. I don't know what the hell they got going on, but it depends the way in which they want to spend some of these properties. For instance, don't be out here, Mattel, I'm looking at you. Don't be out here trying to make some woke Hot Wheels movie. I don't want to see it. I don't want to. I don't think it works, right? Because Barbie is a one-off, and the commentary that they have with Barbie, again, this movie very specifically, stereotypical Barbie. There's a lot to talk about, and it's a converse about, and in you know what I mean. Talk on higher levels of Hot Wheels can't do that, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't be out here trying to Thomas the Tank Engine is not, you know what I'm saying, gonna make a bill at the movies. Do not be out here making Thomas the Tank Engine movies unless they say, let's make some kid movies. I could easily see some Hot Wheel kid movies. I could easily see Thomas the Tank Engine. Actually, this is a very sidebar. I remember doing some research about Thomas the Tank Engine, and I'm pretty sure that they found out that nigga's a fascist. It's still like the craziest.
There's your premise right there. You got the fucking log line already. Thomas the Tank Engine of Fashions. That's the movie right there.
The dialogue is kind of nuts. I thought they were tripping, and then I looked into it. I was like, wait a second. They're actually onto something with this. This might not be as conspiracy as I think it is. But I think there really is. I think they have to pick and choose things. I'm not saying don't do anything ever again with your IP, right? That's not what I'm saying. Even though you have those things in your pocket, I'm saying be smart about what you have and don't think everything is going to work. And I think that's the thing about it when it comes to this whole ordeal. And I think there are some things that people is just going to think everything works. I'm looking at you, Sony. Every villain is not going to fucking work. You can't make every Spider-Man villain into a movie. It's just not going to work. It is what it is, and I think I'm just hoping, again, Mattel and these other people don't fall into that same thing. Will it replace superhero films? Probably not. Comics is just a whole nother ball game of a whole nother thing that I think can't be replaced. But I think it can. I think they can exist in conversation. I think they can live in tandem with each other. I think being able to make blockbusters off nostalgia is similar to making blockbusters off more nostalgia that is comic book movies. I think they can be in conversation to each other. And actually, to be honest, in some ways, that could be another perfect competition opportunity that I think somebody's going to end up doing at some point. X-Men, the movie is about to come out. Here comes fucking the Hot Wheels movie, the Hot Wheels movie and X-Men are gonna come out on the same day. No, but I can see it. But the problem, which has always been the problem, is the greed. There has to be intentionality behind wanting to make a good movie, which then makes you money instead of the money coming first. And that is my fear. That is why I say Barney is still in the clear. It wasn't money first. We didn't know Barbie was going to do what it was going to do. Barney was already something people was making. But now once we start hearing the craziness come, who knows what the result we're going to get, because greed is going to fuel it. Not I have a good idea for this thing that could then make me money.
Yeah, you know, honestly, anytime I hear any studio, any developer, any company say like, we're going to make mad movies off of our properties and create universes and franchises and all this stuff, I get very annoyed by it. The one thing I do like about this strategy is the fact that they are licensing out this IP across their portfolio of toys to multiple studios and to multiple streamers. They're not trying to launch a film studio or a TV production company. It feels like they are going to whoever has the best vision for the property possible. So if it doesn't work at Netflix, Masters of the Universe, if we're not going to be good partners in this, we'll take it somewhere else. And we saw even with Barbie, it started off at Sony, didn't work out there. It comes over to Warner Brothers, and that's where it got new life. And so I think that that is the right approach. And we're seeing PlayStation Studios do something similar from a video game side of things. They give The Last of Us to HBO. They give God of War to Amazon. They give Ghost of Tsushima to Chad Stahelski and wherever that lands. You're like they're divvying up where these things can go based off of the vision of the filmmakers and the studios behind them. And I do think that that is the strategy to lead with, as opposed to just saying we're just going to make the shit and just hire whoever. Like you have to get the pitches first. And if somebody comes in with an interesting take, and it seems like Daniel Kaluuya probably has a really interesting take about this Barney IP, then we'll make a movie, and then we'll find a partner that's suitable enough to make the movie. Oh, okay. It feels like A24 might be the best partner for that. So I think that that is a sound strategy, and I'm all on board for that, because then it feels like we're not working on timelines. We're not working on release dates. We're trying to get the movie in the best place that it can be, and then we'll make it, and then we'll release it when it's ready to go. So I do like that approach. Now, do 45 different toys need to be made into movies and television productions? I don't know about that. Major Matt Mason starring Tom Hanks. Didn't play with Major Matt Mason growing up, so I don't know what the hell that's going to be about. I have
no idea.
I guess we'll see. You know, I guess I just have to sit back and hold my reservations, but I am looking at that to just like ask the question like, well, what is this movie going to be? And I know we're in a marketplace where you kind of need an IP in order to make anything that people are going to see these days. You need something that's recognizable. That is the trend in Hollywood. And I totally get the economics of it all and just the desire to want to make things that feel familiar. But in doing so, let's still try to introduce fresh takes and fresh perspectives and do something unexpected, because that's exactly what Barbie just did. And hopefully for all their future plans, that's what they continue to do. But folks, with all of that out the way, those are all our thoughts on the brand new film starring Margot Robbie, Barbie. If you checked out this movie, which it seems like everybody in the world did, definitely hit us up and let us know what you think.